In the middle of a post-apocalypse, our protagonist Lee Yunxing finds a pleasure house. When he walks inside, two angels on Earth escort him down to the basement. Down there he finds elite hunters just like him and several women in chains ready to play rough. Our boy thought he had just found a gold mine. A woman approaches him and with just a few words, she convinced him to go into a private room. Inside the room there was another girl who was also going to join the fun. Lee Yunxing felt like he just won the lottery. I don't recommend watching this part on TV, because while the brunette stepped out for a bit, the sneaky little flirt with that look on her face says she's been very naughty and that she needs to be punished after years of nothing but killing monsters. He was finally going to have a night of pleasure. Our protagonist gets excited, pulls out a whip and lets it fly without mercy, just to warm things up before going to battle with her in bed, but suddenly the woman's arms turned into claws and she transformed into a monster. Now that her true form was revealed, she screamed for help. All the hot girls came running and started transforming too. The spider says she's sliced up plenty of scavengers before, and the little bee thinks the boy can't handle the heat. I don't know about you guys, but I'd still go for it in that form. They all attack at once, closing in on him. But our protagonist spent the entire apocalypse hunting monsters. So he just smiled, pulled a talisman from his hand, and unleashed an electric blast that in seconds turned those hot beasts into barbecue. Their leader couldn't believe what she just saw. The boy wiped the entire room without even using his own abilities. They had a whole scheme going to lure people in promising to be their dinner, but in reality they wanted to eat the client. They just got unlucky because the MC is a scavenger. Scavengers is a guild of powerful people with insane abilities and physical strength that solve all kinds of problems in the world. When the world was destroyed by nuclear bombs, it was saved by Captain Fan Xiaoyu, everything he knows today, and with his skills he farmed a bunch of stolen items. He grabbed the core that was inside the leader, went back home to the city of Jindu, locked the door with a chain thick enough to leash a huge beast, and went to sleep holding the cores. But every time he falls asleep he gets ice-skate to the strange realm of immortal refinement, where there are dragons, giant skeletons, and beasts. That's his special ability, and that's how he managed to farm so many items. A bizarre doll-shaped entity is already there, welcoming the sect master. Seeing this place, the MC remembers the first time he arrived in this world, waking up in the middle of a bunch of bodies that had their vital energy drained. With floating buildings covered in giant spikes right in front of him, he gets a headache, and receives the memories of the original body owner, just another nobody who spent his days digging up treasures for the sect. The sect master acted like a holy man, but in reality, he treated his disciples like cattle to feed his own greed. After draining everyone's life force, they were thrown away like trash as if they were nothing. Our boy starts receiving more memories, but this time with an old man explaining what the Golden Age was like, when masters were gods and ruled over everything. The world was packed with warriors and high-level masters. Back then, demons and humans farmed XP side by side with no beef. But the spiritual energy ran dry and the world turned into pure chaos and evil. To avoid a total game over, the leader used a forbidden skill to seal the entire base inside an energy shield, and buried the sect underground, waiting for a legendary player to revive everyone. In place of the gods of the past, now all you have is this bunch of weird cultivators pretending to walk the path of light while devouring the souls and blood of innocents to level up. The original owner of Lee Yunxing's body was weak and barely had the power to fight, but before being sacrificed, he received a jade bracelet and the coordinates to the sect's secret entrance. The mission was passed on to Lee Yunxing along with the memories. Following the path, he went back to the corpse dump where he had first spawned in that world. In the same spot he found a dark well and the bracelet guided him as he climbed down. He arrives at a pretty sketchy place and finds a giant abomination made of pure bone and hatred. But the badass notices something. Lee Yunxing goes face to face with the skeleton's giant hand and recites the mantra the old man left behind to deactivate the security system. The boss skull starts to glow and splits into several pieces. The monstrous heads turn into normal skulls and begin to spin, forming a portal. He then steps into the portal and enters the dimensions out of nowhere. He becomes the Nidoro from Hunter x Hunter and then comes out in a dark place with an underground palace right in front of him. A red smoke rises, transforming into the girl from before. She explained that a part of her consciousness had been sealed inside the bracelet and was only released when Lee Yunxing reached the temple. There she told the full story of the original founder, a genius who created a cultivation technique that blended human power with demonic power. When the monsters invaded everything, he faced the infinite army alone with just 2 moves. The first killed almost all the demons at once. With pure light, the second used demons to destroy other demons. Even so, the army was infinite. With no way out, he sacrificed himself to seal the entire valley before leaving. He sent the jade bracelet out with a message, hoping someone would come and continue the legacy. Now that the little immortal has awakened, the MC officially became the new owner of the place. Now he understood that nuclear energy and spiritual energy are basically the same thing. The little immortal asks what's going on. But the MC just asks for a place to take a nap. She takes him to a resting area and swears she'll protect the master while he sleeps. He closes his eyes and passes out, but when he opens them again, he's back on the couch at home, and the bracelet came with him. The guy became an interdimensional traveler through sleep. Man, the boy realizes that anything he's holding when he dozes off will end up in the other world with him. He tests the theory with a nuclear crystal, and the little immortal is nearly knocked over by how pure the energy is. She explains that this is the missing battery needed to activate the cauldron of rebirth. That thing is the sect's most broken artifact, and it's used to give physical respawns to the disciples who were only souls. Their souls had been sealed in there for 1,000 years, and now our MC is about to have a whole army of cultivators to call his own. The kid doesn't want to wait, and orders the cauldron activated right away, dumping the entire stock of crystals into it. He even jokes that it's like opening a loot box. But the little immortal warns him things are about to get crazy out of nowhere. The cauldron bursts into flames and a giant fire phoenix rises from the ashes. It happens way too fast. But our boy intercepts the attack like it's nothing. A shadowy figure appears in the middle of the blaze, and the MC immediately grabs her by the neck. The hottie is on fire and can't understand how the guy didn't turn into barbecue. The chubby girl immediately realizes he's wearing the jade bracelet, and the MC just watches his new ally. She backs away in confusion, because the old master had already kicked the bucket and wonders whether the kid is the real reincarnation. She asks why she was summoned, and the MC explains that the plan is to rebuild the sect and rise back to the top, but she says she has no interest in boring stuff. Then the little one snaps and bites her on the head so she won't freak out again. The girl is furious and tells everyone to go to hell, shouting that no one controls her anymore. But the MC has the remote control and uses the cursed chain to give the brat a reality check. Seeing the chain, the little one asks how he learned to use that. He realized that all the souls there were bound to his bracelet, and the little immortal is stunned by the kid's audacity. She warns that those souls belong to demons who once ruled everything, and the only one they feared was the master. It seems that inheritance was passed on to the MC. The MC is holding the spiritual leash while the little immortal tells the cat girl to state her name and role. She says she used to be a high-level forging spirit, but our boy says that if she's useless, she'll be turned into nuclear crystal recycling. The girl panics and starts coughing up all the rare loot she had stashed away. Whips, talismans, and swords go flying everywhere. But the little immortal tells it straight. That stuff is beggar's alms. She pretends she's about to give the poor thing a game over, and the cat girl begs, saying she'll do anything to be useful to the sect. He accepts, but warns her that if she slips up, she's out. Back to the present, our boy is ready to test the sect system. He asks if nuclear crystals can be used as fuel, and the cat girl freaks out over the purity of that improvised spiritual energy, and she's happy to finally be able to refine something again. She begins the ritual in the middle of the flames, using the molten fire refining technique to convert the loot into power. The result is the Shadow Falcon Celestial Talisman, and she hands our MC his first rare item. The MC thinks the item is kind of ordinary, and immediately asks how to get legendary loot, and the cat girl explains that for that, the mana investment has to be huge. She activates the turbo mode of the refining technique, and this time what comes out is a mysterious seed. The little immortal recognizes the item and says the fruit of that plant is top tier. But the effort was so great that Fire Crow simply blacks out. The poor thing hasn't eaten in 2 days and spent all her mana on crafting. So our boy doesn't leave her on the ground, and carries the new ally off to rest in his lap. She'll be fine, but now the MC has one more mouth to feed. The poor thing is sleeping so deeply that not even the apocalypse alarm could wake her. The MC realizes that biological matter can't pass through the portal between worlds. But then he has a flash of inspiration and decides the best move is to summon more people to help. The little immortal doesn't really get the logic, but who is she to question the admin? The cauldron of rebirth starts shaking like an old mixer, and out of nowhere, two giant spirits start a frantic PvP match. Inside it, it's a dragon versus a wolf. Throwing hands for absolutely no reason, our boy has no patience for chaos, and immediately launches the sealing chains to tame the two new waifus at that moment. Firecrow finally wakes up and sees that the MC wasted no time getting into trouble. She recognizes the two instantly, and is shocked by what she's seeing. Our boy and the little immortal are completely lost, so she explains that these are the Dragon Sisters, the greatest beauties of the old sect. She says the two never got along and were famous for being complete opposites. There they are, Kongli Luli and Kong Mingxia, bound in chains and full of attitude. The little immortal loses her patience and tells them both to stop fooling around and show respect to the sect's new master. The one in blue decides to see whether the kid is really all that, and gets so close that if it were me, I'd have forgotten my own name. She slides her hand over and says, our boy still doesn't know anything about Taoist techniques, and offers to teach him this so-called dual cultivation. If your mom walks in right now, you're screwed. But the sister in red has no intention of sharing the master. She boasts that she's an elite assassin, and says she should be the official instructor instead. But in the end, she also turns bright red while offering the same private lesson as before. Firecrow suggests they throw hands to decide who gets the master, but both of them tell her to get lost on the spot. The MC is already out of patience, and says the priority now is solving everyone's hunger. He shows them the legendary seed, and Mingxia nearly falls over when she recognizes the item. Mingxia explains that this tree is bizarre, and it only grows if it's planted in soil full of corpses and bad energy. Divine guaranteed, but for that, the MC needs cursed soil. The only way is to go to the Sinister Realm, a place that, according to the former owner's memories, is crawling with evil spirits out for his hide. He tells the girls to rest. And honestly, with a view like this, I wouldn't even think about going out to fight. Our boy also needs to farm more crystals in the apocalyptic world, so he might as well squeeze in another nap. But it seems like someone doesn't want him to get a good night's sleep. The MC wakes up to the captain on the hologram, giving our boy the biggest scolding ever for not answering the radio. So he rushes straight to the Scavengers Guild building to see what the problem is. The MC arrives at the door, seriously worried. But when the system grants him entry, the scene is pure chaos, with pizza boxes scattered everywhere. He runs in shouting, thinking she's in danger, only to find the boss lady rotting away on the couch in the middle of the mess. Look at the state of this hottie. If she looked at me like that, I'd even forget the world ended. RG asks where that good thing she promised is, and I think we already found it. She gives that lazy stretch like she doesn't care about anything in life and suddenly remembers she had something serious to discuss. The captain says she landed an elite job and that she's going to let our boy handle it to gain experience. It's a 2-star mission with a ton of money involved. But she already warns him that most of the profit is hers. She talks big, saying that since he's on the best hunters team, there's no way he can fail. RG gets all excited thinking about the upgrades he's going to make, and gets that thumbs up like, go get him. But when he asks for some funds to help cover the costs, her expression changes right away, and her wallet starts hurting. She hits him with an obviously not, with a completely shameless face, and says that with her elite physique, spending money on weapons is a total waste. Our boy knows the guild big shots make a fortune, but she just sighs and says he's still way too naive. With an angle like this, it's hard to focus on the conversation, but the truth is, she doesn't spend a dime in the real world because she'd rather blow it all on a new console and game skins. Total shock. The captain is a hopeless gaming addict, and the MC is on his own when it comes to getting money. Even so, he never turns down one of her missions because besides the farming, he knows he owes his life to that lunatic. Our boy's past was rough. He lost his parents to hunger and had to become a trash rat. Just to survive, he was captured by raiders and trained to be cannon fodder, but those guys became lunch when a nuclear monster attacked. The MC survived by pure miracle, maybe because he wasn't even worth an appetizer. From then on, it was nothing but hardcore survival mode, dodging everything that tried to erase him from existence, until he ran into a horde of monsters. No one lives to tell about. Just when he thought it was the end, the captain showed up and saved the day, just because the beasts were getting in the way of her ranked match. The captain grabbed the kid by the collar like he was a sack of potatoes and told him to stay in a corner and watch the show while she charged up a punch that shone brighter than a gaming monitor. And after that, she saw the kid was hard to kill, and invited him to join the squad back in the present. The MC arrives by motorcycle at the Research Institute, where Dr. Shu and the Welcome Committee were already waiting. Dr. Shu greets our boy with all the politeness in the world, and immediately takes him inside to finalize the contract somewhere more VIP. The cutie serving tea is a bonus I wouldn't complain about, but the MC only wants to know the mission details. The doctor starts with that salesman talk, saying the place is a charity organization that serves as a home for beastmen who were cast out by society. He shows that these people are hunted like animals out of pure prejudice, and that his goal is to remove their animal genes and turn them human again. Everything was going fine, until a huge problem showed up to ruin the whole thing. A nuclear monster decided to surround the institute, and now no one gets in or out. But in the middle of the explanation, the ceiling nearly caves in with a bizarre crash. Dr. Shu goes into full panic because the creature came back, but our boy already jumps outside, telling everyone to hide. The guards are out there wasting ammo for nothing, and when the MC sees how big the mess is, he almost freezes. It's a giant titan snake. The captain seriously lied about this mission's level. The creature's scales are armored, so the plan now is to lure its fury away from the base. He passes by a guard and asks to borrow a grenade, but RG clears out the guy's whole stock and leaves him stunned. He throws the present right in the bitch's face to get her attention. She takes the hit right on the snout, and our boy immediately kicks the motorcycle into high gear to take her for a ride. The beast is consumed with rage and follows the MC straight to the bottom of the canyon. Its grenades flying everywhere, and the kid is practically emotional over getting to spend ammo that didn't come out of his own pocket. He already prepared the battlefield in Chaos Canyon, and tells the snake to accept this special gift combo. She ends up surrounded by explosives on all sides, and the reptile barbecue is officially served. The MC already charges up his next strike with the grenade's energy, and rushes in with a lightning slash. He cuts straight through the serpent's body in a trail of electricity, but when he lands, thinking he finished it off, he notices a bizarre green glow coming from the wound. The wound starts closing at the speed of light, and in seconds the beast looks like nothing ever happened. Our boy is left stunned by this chick's ridiculously broken healing factor. The jet of venom to show that she fights dirty. The MC complains that the beast fights dirty because that green spray is pure acid. The stuff melts everything in seconds, and our boy is devastated watching his scooter get trashed. Now the beast has gone full tryhard, and the MC will have to use his trump card, the Blue Shadow Falcon Talisman. With this new pair of wings, RG decides playtime is over. He dives down like a guided missile focused on turning this beast into a pile of elite crystal. The attack pierces through the serpent and leaves her full of holes. The beast is screaming in pain, and our boy is already saying the party's over, but out of nowhere, he notices something bizarre. Is the giant snake crying? He hesitates for a second, and when the smoke clears, the monster has turned into this snake woman. If it were me, the mission would end in surrender on the spot. He realizes she's a beast human with consciousness, but duty calls, and he can't afford to hesitate. Mission accomplished. All that's left is the beast's tail to tell the tale. The chick's tail was left lying there, and Dr. Shu immediately sends our 20,000 sand dollars. The MC is suspicious that a beast that huge showed up in such a peaceful place, but the doctor brushes it off, saying dumb monsters get lost all the time. To help him relax, the guy offers him 2 special assistants, but our boy isn't stupid, and asks if the doctor is trying to frame him with this illegal setup. The guy swears it's all out of gratitude, so RG asks him to gather all the institute's maids at once, and the doctor rushes off to set up the party. Thinking he's an absolute beast, our boy gathers the whole harem together to make sure the lineup is complete, and they say they're ready to serve. If it were me, the video would end right here. But the MC says he's not really feeling that vibe, and activates another talisman, zapping the harem with a thundershock, while Dr. Shu runs off to the bizarre experiment lab. The maniac has a whole stockpile of preserved waifus. He reaches the main tank and starts talking to the mutants like a loving father, but our boy is already right on his heels, and the doctor tries to kick him out of the server by yelling at him. The MC is done with the nonsense, and logs the old man out with 1 punch. The guy even loses his teeth, but shows that he already hit the panic button to call for backup. The doctor sends the maids after him, but the MC shows that he's already broken everyone's collars. The old man completely short-circuits on the spot. Now his harem has become our boy's new squad, and he already knows the institute was just a front for kidnapping girls and torturing everyone. He used those poor girls as test subjects to farm forbidden experiments. The tables have turned, and the girls are thirsty for revenge. While the doctor tries to pull that sad flashback swearing that he once wanted to save hybrid girls from oppression. Back in the day, the old man was a badass and handled things with brute force. Giving a beating to anyone who mistreated hybrids, he saw himself as a savior, and adopted a whole orphanage of beast folk to try to help. The man was a genius, and was close to cracking the code to turn everyone human, but then everything flopped. One of the beasts snapped and turned the place into a slaughterhouse. His wife died, and his daughter was left hanging by a thread. To keep the girl alive, the cost was astronomical, so he sold his soul to this mafia to keep the bills paid. The guy became a master of forbidden alchemy, and started farming dirty money by selling the poor girl's essence on the black market. The final plan was to fuse a beast's genes with his daughter's to give the girl a respawn. But finding someone compatible was like trying to get a legendary drop with a 0-1 chance. Then he found one who was perfectly compatible. She was the missing piece, but before he could finish the process, that snake invaded the lobby. Now it makes sense why the old man was so desperate for the MC to clear the map. Even Toothless, the maniac, is grinning like crazy because now the path is clear for him to hit start on the final experiment. The system confirms it, and the forbidden summoning ritual begins. The lab turns into a rave of radiation and green energy everywhere, and our boy tells the maids to save the other poor girls because if they cut the power now, the rest of the server is done for. But then he notices something bizarre. The flesh starts mixing together like modeling clay, with the faces melting into each other while the doctor celebrates success. But the MC feels like this patch came with a bug. The thing is becoming deformed. The system hit a critical error, and the body is rejecting everything because of that 001 difference. The thing is turning into a radioactive blob, and Dr. Shu is freaking out because the experiment failed hard. The tank starts to crack, and the boss hand punches through the glass. She's ready to pull the plug on this lab, and the MC admits he only farmed her tail in the previous fight to confirm whether she was really aggressive. Looking at it from that angle, I understood why the MC wanted to hear her side of the story. The story began in the radioactive forest, where the snakes got an evolution buff, and this little one decided to explore the humans' map. Dr. Shu was this little one's childhood hero, and she grew up seeing his face on every billboard in the city. She wanted to return the favor, so she and her big sis decided to pay a surprise visit, but the welcome came with a shock. They fell straight into a trap. In the panic, the white older sister knocked over a shipment of forbidden potions, and the mutation buff was so bizarre that she turned into a raid boss. She woke up gigantic in the middle of the woods, and now she only goes back there to try to rescue the little one without deleting any NPCs. The MC throws it in his face that that so-called hero was the one farming the little one this whole time, and the old man goes into shock when he sees his house of cards collapse. The mutant big sis finishes deleting the lab in a fit of rage. Cut to the captain waking up with the face of someone who lost their rank overnight, and the little green snake is already there dressed as a maid, saying hi. Fan Xiaoyu glitches out trying to understand where this kid came from. Our boy shows up all calm, saying the mission went great, and he even brought back a bonus. In the end, the white snake's attack served to reset the doctor's experiment, and his daughter regained consciousness in the middle of the rubble, revealing that it was humans who wiped out the. At that time, a sinister tentacled shadow attacked the group, and the hybrids fought to their last breath to protect the little one. The old man finally realized the monsters were the good guys, but the lab had no power, and the girls were about to go down without support. That's when our boy used his last lightning talisman to act as a makeshift generator and save the squad. He used up the legendary item, and that's why he's on the captain's couch with a child in his arms. Fan Xiaoyu can't believe the bonus is a mini beast, and with the captain looking like that, I wouldn't be able to focus on the report either. The MC focuses on the little one's hamburger, already thinking about the XP shell farm. The captain is evaluating the potential of the new skin, while the girl only cares about stuffing her face with the snack. The MC gets that here comes trouble look. When Fan Xiaoyu starts laughing, she gets straight to the point. There's no room on the team for anyone who doesn't farm, so the little one is immediately given the position of intern. After getting things settled, our boy goes to sleep, hugging that legendary crystal he dropped from the boss. He wakes up in the spiritual lobby, and immediately gets startled. The fire crow appears out of nowhere, saying she needs some dual cultivation to buff her abilities and catch her breath. Our boy freezes on the spot, wondering if the game changed genres. The MC slams the huge crystal on the table, and demands results, while the beauty begins the refinement with elite spiritual flame. The process is intense, and the energy shapes the shadow right in front of our boy. The item recognizes the MC as the owner of the server, and the armor fuses with his arm pure cash shop item shine. And just look at the style with this new skin. The outfit gives an agility buff and even has a secret technique, but look at the state of the fire crow after spending all that mana. The dual cultivation left the beauty begging for mercy. The arc was awesome, but the bow ties down on the floor, saying 5 rounds in a row is her limit. If it were me, the server would never go offline. The MC tells the smith to rest, and decides to take the Dragon Sisters for the heavy work. Kongli Yuli gets all excited at the chance to leave the lobby. They arrive at the entrance to the pit surrounded by corpses, and the beauty jumps out of the portal, all happy to breathe fresh air, or almost. Mingxia immediately starts complaining about the stench of corpses, but our boy tells both of them to cut the drama. She grabs a bit of soil to test the quality, but the drop is bad. The soil is dry and useless for the divine seed. Out of nowhere, the bowtie's danger sensor goes off. She pulls the MC into hiding in a hurry, because an elite mob with a nasty look just spawned on top of the pile. The monster stretches its neck like a possessed giraffe, and comes down to check the area. Since she doesn't find anyone, she decides to leave, so she won't annoy the area boss. As soon as the mob disappears, our boy reappears in the middle of the bodies, putting away the invisibility item that saved the day. He explains that Noon is farming people for her master, which gives our MC an idea. And look at the size of that floating castle. That's where the cursed fertilizer they need for farming is. The plan is to infiltrate among the disciples and walk straight into the lion's den. Kongli Yuli is grinning for no reason, saying the most dangerous place is the perfect safe zone for them. Kongli Yuli has that little smile of someone who's already planned the whole scheme, and the chains tighten to make the act convincing. The monster nun leaves, thinking she secured the day's tithe. The sisters want to come along, but our guy tells them straight if they go with him, they'll only get in the way of his stealth. He moves down the corridor, and the place is more bugged than a server on update day. The objective is right up ahead, but suddenly the cat instinct screams at once, look at the size of that mob. If that's not the area boss, then I'm a tutorial NPC. The monster is sniffing the air, confused because it caught a human scent, but didn't see even a shadow. Our boy uses the opening to slip away in cat form. Before his invisibility mana runs out, he arrives at a bizarre place where some old zombies are ordering people to ascend to the next level, except the door is a hole in a wall of flesh with 1,000 hands trying to drag you into the abyss. The MC immediately realizes this whole immortality story is pure bait to lure noobs to the slaughter. That thing is a giant sacrificial furnace made of souls and chains. He finally finds the cursed fertilizer he came for. The cat starts collecting the item, but feels a spiritual fire that burns and freezes at the same time. Out of nowhere, the creature loses its footing and starts floating against its will. The furnace is pulling his soul inside, and our boy goes into total panic mode. Things have gone bad for the kitty. His cat mana runs out at the worst possible moment, and our boy returns to his original body. He's in shock. The suction from this tower is ridiculously overpowered, and if he doesn't act now, he'll turn into fuel for the furnace. But in the middle of the chaos, the MC sees a different kind of glow. A ghost girl appears out of nowhere, asking if he can see her. Our guy freezes. How is a soul just hanging around there without being refined? She tells him to stay quiet because the area boss notices any movement. She reveals that she's the spirit of the furnace, and immediately offers our MC a deal. Apparently she wants to defect, and our boy is her ticket out. The girl introduces herself as Zhao Jing and says she used to be the rarest item of a sect that turned monsters into XP pills. That thing gave absurd buffs and even divine abilities. But her glory days are over, and she fell into the hands of a high-rank villain. That so-called ancestor sealed the poor girl with a divine needle to farm evil pills. She's tired of this life as a spiritual slave and promises to become our boy's official support if he frees her. The MC freezes at the offer. He realizes that the giant pillar that almost swallowed him is actually the Catgirl's chest. The Catgirl explains that colossal pillar is the needle keeping her pinned down, and our boy immediately panics, saying he's not there to take advantage of her appearance. He just doesn't know how to help. The seal on his belt glows, and he grabs Zhao Jing, so she won't be sucked back into the center of the furnace. Our guy switches into serious mode and summons a shadowy mechanical arm to help out. He summons a giant legendary sword straight from his inventory, and it comes crashing down, shattering the evil chains. His eyes are locked on the loot. To finish the job, the MC pulls out the whip of truth and starts lassoing the pillar to yank that giant thorn out of her arm. Our guy is at his limit, and Zhao Jing starts getting worried, but then he pulls out that buff pill refined by Fire Crow. Using a rare item hurts, but getting a support waifu that generates infinite loot is worth the investment. He pops the item, and the beast goes into full berserker mode. His raw strength increases 100-fold. His body heats up so much that even the cat girl is startled as he rips out the pillar and blows apart the seal with a pull worthy of a top ranker, with a scream that makes the whole server shake. Zhao Jing is finally free from the chains and immediately jumps onto our boy's neck, pledging eternal loyalty. What an upgrade. Huh? Our boy secured the main loot, the furnace that turns demons into XP pills. His inventory is full. But now the problem is getting out of this map alive. Out of nowhere, the nightmare-faced elite mob appears behind him, asking who the thief is. It's a bizarre cultivator who looks like a sketch from hell with a giraffe neck. The MC freezes because the noise from the fight woke up someone who definitely shouldn't have been awakened. These creatures are high rank and farm human bone essence to level up. The freak recognizes our guy from somewhere. She opens that huge mouth and demands to know how a noob like him removed the needle seal. The MC switches into smooth talk mode and pretends he's gonna hand over a treasure. If she spares his life, the monster falls for the bait and comes closer to inspect the item, while our boy just waits for the right timing. The MC takes advantage of the monster's opening and charges up a punch with the pill's full buff to fire off a beam of light that cuts across the map and deletes her HP bar. The freak drops flat to the ground. Our guy sees a glow coming out of her body and immediately runs over to see if the drop is legendary. And Zhao Jing explains that it's the golden marrow bone, where the XP is stored. The boy is stunned by the jackpot, but he has no idea how to use a high-rank item like that, so the ghost kitty immediately pulls the bone over to herself, and the MC just accepts that the loot belongs to her now. The buff effect wears off, but the mission is a total success. Fertilizer secured and a bonus item in the bag. He goes back into cat form to slip away quietly and meet up with the rest of the team. All that's left is the monster's remains on the ground, and she dies without understanding how she got soloed by a noob. The monster's soul turned into a bizarre fly, swearing revenge as it flies off in search of a new body. In the lobby, the Dragon Sisters are bored out of their minds, waiting for our boy to come back from farming. Ming Sha notices the creature coming and immediately gets ready to crush the intruder, but the creature dodges and decides Li Yuli's body will be its new skin. The fly lands on the kitty's cheek, and her sister doesn't miss the chance to smack her as hard as she can right across the face. Li Yuli wakes up with a mark on her face, thinking there was an earthquake. Ming Sha freezes, thinking the master got himself into deep shit and the fight has already started. But Li Yuli immediately calls it out. She's acting weird and hiding the fly's drop. The creature is back there screaming in terror. They feel a heavy boss aura approaching, and this giant bizarre Buddha bursts out of the ceiling, inviting the two of them to his room. Li Yuli decides to play nice to buy time and betray the fatty later, and the creature gets all emotional already, thinking it's hit the jackpot. But Ming Sha has no patience for the tricks, and immediately plants a kick in the freak's face with an elite combo. Her sister is stunned by the lack of strategy. But the redhead only cares about crushing the boss. Li Yuli accepts that their cultivation is trash, and decides to rely on the cash shop items the MC gave them. Ming Sha immediately pulls out a grenade, thinking it's a healing item, and gets hypnotized by the immortal pill shining brighter than a. The redhead is absolutely thrilled with her new toy, but Chubby definitely didn't like getting kicked, and his eye is already glowing with hatred. The creature enters phase 2 and sprouts arms everywhere, looking like a bugged raid boss. The two of them realize things just got serious when the monster opens a crater where its mouth should be, ready to swallow the whole server. Ming Sha tells Li Yuli to get out and find the MC while she holds the boss aggro. Li Yuli gets all emotional, warning that her sister can't die before getting payback for that slap. Ming Sha knows she can't tank the boss head-on, so she decides to swallow the spiritual grenade in one go, and of course the thing explodes. The girl is reduced to dust, while the giant creature comes at her with its mouth wide open. The dragon is done for while all hell breaks loose. Li Yuli runs to find the MC and bring back reinforcements, and when she feels her sister's aura disappear, she finally relaxes, since she didn't become the sect's top assassin for nothing. We see the redhead's consciousness, and the insect monster's spirit appears to laugh, thinking the tables have turned. The creature wants to take advantage of her sleeping to devour everything and steal her body, but the plan goes down the drain when it feels a pressure coming from behind, and a dark version of Ming Sha appears, holding the insect like it's trash. This new consciousness takes sadistic pleasure in crushing ants, and can't wait to take full control of the avatar. She immediately goes after the original to complete the takeover. The mental takeover enters its final phase, and the two consciousnesses clash head-on. The original Ming Sha is trapped in a sea of hands. Completely stunned, she lets out the kind of scream of someone getting formatted by the system. Meanwhile, in the real world, the boss starts feeling sick. Chubby thought he'd eaten the girl for dinner, but digestion is about to hit hard. Out of nowhere, a fist punches through his chest from the inside out. The creature starts exploding into arms, looking like some bizarre texture glitch, and the one bursting out of his body is Ming Sha, in dark mode, complete with a purple aura. She's wearing that little smile of someone who just inherited a max-level account. All that's left on the ground to tell the tale is the remains of the boss hand. Ming Sha is puzzled by that weird drop the boss left behind. She mercilessly stomps on the hand with the eye, because there's no room for cursed loot here. Now she wants to figure out where the hell the server dumped them. Meanwhile, the fragment of the hand starts sliding across the floor as if it had a life of its own. The thing tries to run off and hide in a dark corner, but look who shows up. The spirit explains that it's the foundation of some baizu, an item that shouldn't be lying around there. Meanwhile, Li Yuli is lost in a never-ending labyrinth. She runs and runs, but the corridor seems infinite, and from this angle we can see her leg day is definitely paying off. Li Yuli realizes she fell into a trap, and now things have gotten seriously tense in the middle of the corridor. Some guy appears meditating like he owns the server. Li Yuli immediately gets alert, not knowing whether he's a ghost or just an elite mob. She doesn't want to waste time talking, and immediately draws her bowstring to land the first hit. The shot fires with full force, lighting up the entire corridor. The arrow goes straight through the guy's head, but the damage doesn't even register. The freak doesn't even blink, and warns her she's asking to get deleted from the map. Out of nowhere his body stretches like an animation bug, and he appears right up against her, asking if she likes illusions. The blow lands hard right in the middle of her chest, and our girl goes flying, coughing up blood and feeling the full weight of the combo. The boss wants to know what she's doing on his map, but Li Yuli answers with pure mockery. Even though she's completely battered, he doesn't even flinch. The creature gave up being human and turned into a nightmare that has our girl G caught in a grab with no chance to dodge. It even looks like a horror game boss. The old man's spirit warns that she is no longer of any use alive, and begins the absorption process. To him, being devoured by him is the best drop possible. If the MC doesn't show up now, she's going to become Mob Chow. Li Yuli is being swallowed by this heap of flesh, and it looks like game over has arrived. But then the shatters, and the old man realizes that he was the one who fell into the trap. Our girl G appears completely unharmed with a hitbox the MC would approve of, and says his technique is just a badly made mod of her version. The creature boasts that he is the master of illusions, and tries to recruit her into his guild. She doesn't listen to the talk of the dead, and he immediately launches his special attack to settle things. The boss goes all in with this bizarre body full of arms, but Li Yuli just closes her eyes and starts casting her special, changing clothes like a fairy. She manifests the soul-devouring celestial demon, and the look is pure blue fire. The old man panics because he thought the dragon clan had already been wiped off the map. No time for a flashback. She is already charging the next hit. The impact is so strong that the screen turns into nothing but silhouettes. The creature still tries to act like a know-it-all, saying she already used that move and it didn't work. Little does he know the negative effect has already kicked in. The boss head explodes in a burst of dark energy, and our girl G stays there floating, proving that a count level can't beat legendary skill. Li Yuli explains that dragon blood is the perfect counter to any illusion, and that the boss was doomed from the moment he was stained by it. The creature's body splits open and reveals his quest item, a severed lizard tail. No wonder the guy was so arrogant. His whole foundation was pure meme. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a sinister red, and Minja starts hearing voices, as if someone were spamming a spell into her ear. It's a heavy mental debuff. She can't tank the headache in short circuits. Our boy arrives in the clutch and catches the redhead before she falls, while the boss stays there bound up, just watching everything unfold. He grows thoughtful, trying to understand what that sound was and where Li Yuli ended up. Little Immortal appears before the MC with an urgent warning. Ancestor Wudong is waking from hibernation after farming a ton of blood essence, and the creature is pure nightmare fuel. Our boy gets tense because he knows he can't tank this boss right now. But the little one says she has a plan and will need his help for the final coup. She turns all red while explaining the method, and if that really is the plan, our boy hit the jackpot. The MC nearly falls over when he hears the setup is dual cultivation. In the middle of all this chaos, she doesn't even wait for an answer, and dives straight into his mind to begin the process. Suddenly, reality shatters, and our boy ends up in a mental space that looks like a luxury lobby. She explains that this is the only place where they can do this upgrade, since she is still only an artifact spirit in the mental space. All his quest items are on display, and the little one has already manifested the golden lotus she crafted to serve as the foundation. MC meditates. The energy begins refining his body, transforming his blood into pure power. Time for the breakthrough. Our boy feels his energy centers glowing brighter than a Christmas tree. Their spiritual dual cultivation is in full sync, and since it's on the astral plane, outfits are optional. Drain everything. The little one confesses that she stole all this XP from the ancestor himself while she was cooking pills for him. Now she transfers that forbidden farm to our boy so he can finally solo the boss. The little one warns that the first time hurts a little, but he needs to tank the process. The light grows so intense it blinds the server, and the final upgrade finally goes through. Back in reality, the MCS body is floating on autopilot, while the rest of the boss tries to sneak away. The creature is just an eye and a filthy hand. Lee Yuli comes over to check the loot, and the artist took full advantage of the angle. She wonders whether the MC passed out because of the boss, while the hand takes the chance to run away, ending up right in front of the redhead. Got hit with the Uno reverse. While the sisters try to understand what happened, our boy is off in dreamland, dreaming about the cultivation that just happened. The sky begins to cry blood in the form of runes, and any sense of peace goes straight down the drain. Mingxiao looks up and immediately feels that the next mob is world level. Out of nowhere, a deafening sound starts frying the redhead's brain, and our blue girl too. From the shadows emerges an astral projection, so gigantic, and the creature wants to know which rat dared interrupt his meditation. Li Yuli knows the MC is still out of commission and wonders whether what remains of her mana and her sisters will be enough to hold aggro. She decides that retreat is not an option. The sisters gather what little energy they have left into a combo of flames to try not to get one shot, and they hit the monster right in the middle. But soon the wound heals, but the astral hand comes down like a meteor. The boss says there's no way out, and that he's going to grind both of them into dust. The impact is coming in for the final one-hit kill. Li Yuli has already accepted the game over, and even cracks a joke about settling the score in the next life. But then our boy shows up with his new buff activated. He throws an uppercut that shatters all the pressure of the attack, and the boss hand simply can't tank the damage from RG. The ancestor still tries to act all smug, calling the MC an ant and throwing a punch at him. The impact was brutal, but RG wasn't there, so the boss starts looking for him, saying he won't escape. Mingxia is in shock at the MCS new aura, and Li Yuli can't understand how he reached core formation so fast. Our boy says it's a long story, and warns that everyone should get back to the hideout before the map resets. The MC says they need to plug that pit with a body, but Li Yuli warns that alone won't tank the problem, and that they need a seal. She immediately switches to support build and starts casting an illusion skill, making the corpses on the ground get drawn toward the hole's entrance, until the passage is completely blocked by a pile of bones back at the base. Our boy notices some strange movement and freezes. There's a tiny blue creature getting bullied by some crows, and the poor thing screams in terror while trying to dodge the bird's hits, until someone tells everyone to cut out the nonsense. Fire Crow is startled when she sees our boy has returned, and Little Immortal immediately blurts out that the blacksmith was stealing crystals to open a forbidden room. RG tries to figure out what's so broken about that place, and the little one explains that inside, XP gains are tripled. She tries to corner Fire Crow to find out how she discovered the secret, but the redhead only gives lame excuses. The MC decides to ignore the theft for now because the focus is something else. He hands the rest of the loot over to Little Immortal to strengthen the sect, and tells the blacksmith to focus on crafting elite items every day while the dragons take care of the divine seed. The survival plan keeps moving full speed ahead, and our boy enters the pavilion to start the real grind. The pavilion is bizarre, full of cosmic energy everywhere, and our boy goes all in to reach Golden Core as soon as possible. He takes a deep breath, but then the mood shifts and we see a sinister boss chewing out the disciple who failed, saying the mistake was bad, But there's still a way to fix the damage. He summons a bizarre centipede larva, and explains that this so-called calamity centipede will serve to reboot the guy's body. The creature starts merging with the man's flesh in a really disgusting way, and the result is a totally glitched-out avatar covered in eyes all over its body. The boss says time is running out, and that his quest now is to hunt down our MC. Meanwhile, the scavenger is flying like a rocket, acting like he owns the sky because he blew a fortune on a used jetpack. But our boy shows up right behind him, surfing on a flying sword, and the guy nearly goes into shock. He tries to speed up to the max, but the MC is on another level now that his cultivation has synced perfectly with his body. They arrive at the scavenger's tavern, and the jetpack guy lands in a rush to be first. He walks in swearing he's still the fastest inside. The attendants come over in cowgirl skins to see if RG will spend his loot on them. The warning is clear: commoners stay on the ground floor, and only VIP members go upstairs. The jetpack guy is there huffing pure copium, dreaming of the day he'll hit rank A and show off. Our boy, on the other hand, wants nothing to do with luxury and just orders a dark beer and a solid set meal from the bartender. The attendant is Hua, a guy who can even make drinks fly with style, and he already recognizes RG. He says the MCS potential is being wasted there, and praises the kid for soloing 5 beasts and a 2-star mission way above his level. Our boy plays humble and says he's just some random rank C guy who's starving. The redhead with the jetpack hears that and nearly chokes when he realizes the MC is A. Hua laughs and reminds him that the last reward was 5,000 sand dollars. But the MC points out that the captain takes 70 and now he wants a 3-star mission. The MC knows money is the least of his worries right now, and that he needs giant crystals to buff the waifus and prepare for the boss that's coming. The bartender thinks the captain is a mercenary, but warns that a rank C can't solo a level 3 mission, and the redhead even turns pale when he hears the rank captain's name. He immediately breaks into a huge grin like he's found the perfect carry, and introduces himself as Lu Letian to try and lock in the duo. The guy is part of the number 1 clan, a guild with nearly 200 members, and our boy accepts the invitation even while trying to keep up his background character humility. The flying guy is totally hyped, thinking the two of them are going to clear the whole map, but Hua warns them that for this quest, the lobby requires a party of 3. The moment the two of them look back, Ling Yi appears, a rank C who looks like she came straight out of a cute anime. The flyer immediately goes all soft and accepts her into the party on the spot. With the squad complete, the MC asks Hua to send over the toughest mission. He wants hard mode, with lots of mobs and bosses to farm XP. The bartender practically calls him crazy for being just like the captain. He shows them a contract to find some children who disappeared in a bizarre forest, and warns them that the place has a reputation for being haunted by ghosts and monsters. Our boy accepts the contract at the top of his lungs. The lobby set and mission accepted, even with the redhead scared to death of the supernatural. The redhead is worried whether the cute girl can tank the danger, but the bartender warns that time to save the children is running out. He shows them the map with the most dangerous desert routes. The safe path takes 10 hours, which would mean game over for the mission. But Ling Yu strikes that pose like she's got a cash shop item hidden away. She pulls a glowing shrimp out of her inventory and starts calling for Xiaolan like it's a little puppy. Suddenly, the server lights up and a portal opens in the sky. A giant star whale appears to serve as transportation for the squad. The guys are stunned to see that the newbie has the fastest mount in the game. The redhead already thinks she's some legendary sugar mama because of the expensive pet, and Ling Yu turns bright red, saying the creature is just a friend. While the jetpack man struggles, our boy carries the girl on his sword. Once there on top of the creature, the stability is cruise level. She explains that Xiaolan is slow, but knows how to use the map's shortcuts. The creature starts dashing and opens a spatial rift in the middle of the clouds. The scenery turns into a mess of spatial distortion. RG senses a trail of evil energy coming from nearby void forest. New map unlocked. Our boy and the trio finally land. The atmosphere here is insanely heavy. The newbie is already shaking in her boots, remembering some horror stories about this map. She says this used to be the Forest of Miracles where humans lived peacefully in a village. They shared the lobby with the beastmen in peace, but one night, the game flipped and everyone ended up dead as dirt. The scavengers wiped out the beastmen, thinking they were the culprits, but a little girl saw a red ghost watching everything from afar. The redhead is in full skeptic mode, thinking ghosts don't exist. But the newbie speaks plainly. The story came from a reliable source. She mentions Huaning, a psychic captain with top-tier assets and a reputation for being fierce. The guy nearly drops his jaw when he hears the psychic's name, and Ling Yu quickly corrects him, saying the woman is a highly respected spirit seer. Out of nowhere, They see the figure of a student moving through the brush. Our boy immediately draws his weapon and tells the squad to go after the child. The trail leads straight to an abandoned building in the middle of the darkness. It's a school building that absolutely should not be there. And up above, there's a pair of eyes staring at RG. Our boy tells the squad to get inside quickly and check out what's going on. But the moment they step inside, the door slams shut. Everyone gets startled outside. Some bizarre vines start sprouting from the ground, and in seconds, the entire building is sealed off by that sinister vegetation. The MC uses the glow of his watch to try to see in the dark, but realizes the squad is gone and the bracelets have no signal at all. Little giggles start echoing through the hallway. He asks who's there and comes face to face with some motionless silhouettes. They're just stacked mannequins, which is 1,000 times creepier. Our boy goes on full alert because he heard a strange noise. He decides it's better not to let his guard down. Not noticing the giant shadow right behind him just as his spider sense kicks in, she grabs his arm, a crying little girl begging him to take her home. The MC finds it strange because the radar isn't detecting any threat nearby. Zero mob signals. He tries to calm the little girl and asks how she ended up on this map. She says she was in class when a ghost appeared, and everyone started running. Our boy asks about the others, and she says the boss got all of them. The MC is trying to process what the girl said about the ghost, while Lu Xiaobei Lu Tian is lost in a dark hallway, shouting for the squad. Out of nowhere, he hears a bizarre singing that wasn't in the script and decides to enter a room to see whether the sound is coming from the boss or some NPC. He sees little hands joined together in a Foolin' horror movie vibe, and the lobby turns sinister with those children singing in the dark. On the floor, he sees Ling Yu unconscious and surrounded by those messed up kids. The redhead goes berserk mode to save his ally. The children reveal mob faces with macabre smiles, and he unleashes a heavy slash to see if he can delete the ghosts all at once. As soon as he finishes them all off, he realizes they were just cursed straw dolls. Our boy runs to help Ling Yu, who finally wakes up. She wakes up a little disoriented, calling for Tian, not understanding how she ended up in this bizarre place. The redhead explains that she ran into the ghost and takes the chance to play the hero. The newbie accepts the protection buff right away with a hug, leaving RG completely frozen, while a weird little laugh echoes in the background. The girl's face turns into a nightmare, and black tentacles start draining the redhead's HP. Poor guy. The whole thing turns into a tangled mass of roots while the scene cuts to another hallway. The real Ling Yu is wandering around alone and trying to talk to the captain without success. Out of nowhere, footsteps. Li Yunqing shows up saying he found her, but the girl glitches out because now there are two of him on screen. The two start arguing, and out of nowhere he gets hit with a right hook that goes straight through his face like the lunatic was made of smoke. Our boy tries to play bodyguard and tells the girl to stay behind him, but then a Jumbo-sized clone appears behind them, saying he's the real one. The girl catches on and decides she's had enough of this nonsense. Switching into combat mode because she's figured out it's all fake. She can read the monsters' minds, but their communication is pure code. And the creatures keep going on with this creepy delusion that every one of them is the real MC. She even remembers when she used to scold her pig for needing to diet and not turn into bacon. She explains that she's been able to read the minds of nuclear monsters since she was a child, but these bizarre MC clones don't follow the rules. Seeing that things have gone south, she calls for Xiaolu and the giant boar comes crashing in for snack time. The beast doesn't want to talk and starts smashing the shadows on the wall without an ounce of mercy, pure bottled rage. The clones run off, and the girl is left stunned by how easy it was. After that, another girl appears, clearing a path and guides our boy straight to where the mystery is hidden. When they reach the heart of the problem, the atmosphere is way too heavy. The little girl starts crying and begs our boy to save everyone, but the MC has already seen through it and cuts her off without hesitation. He realizes the girl doesn't have even the slightest sign of a soul, so the whole plan was just to lure him into this trap. Our guy steps into the lair with his aura flaring and sees that the children are trapped in cocoons, including a face. But the owner of the house doesn't like visitors, and the roots twist together to create a colossal monster that makes the MC look like a toy. In comparison, the creature tries to crush him, but our boy's reflexes are on point, and he immediately fires off an aura slash to carve a path. He starts slicing through the cocoons on the ceiling, and the redhead drops to the floor completely disoriented while the MC faces the mountain of roots. He warns that they're inside the creature's stomach and tells the guy to save the others. The dude nearly has a heart attack, thinking he's seen a ghost and is left stunned by our guy's level of power, but there's not even time to catch a breath, because the creature can read minds and copy whatever trauma they have. The creature doesn't just copy what it sees, it digs through the trauma in people's minds. But Ling Yu reappears with her boar to even the fight. The beast comes charging in, trampling the roots with full force, and the redhead has no idea what to make of this mutant pig that looks tough as nails. The girl is having the time of her life riding the beast, acting like she's out for a stroll in the park. Outside, the true puppet master watches the building being swallowed up and says the nutrients have finally arrived. This galaxy-faced villain activates his final plan, making the entire building start shrinking and crushing everyone inside. Not even our boy's avatar escapes being suffocated by that mountain of roots. The lunatic explains that he spent 100 years cultivating this bizarre nuclear tree, waiting for it to sprout, so he could finally reap the results. The tree looks like a giant bulb in the middle of the forest, and he's already eyeing the fruit, which looks more like a mutant brain. He's all excited, saying the tree only needs 1 day to bear fruit, and that even if it dies afterward, dozens of fruits make it worth the effort. But out of nowhere, the gleam in the villain's eyes vanishes because the fruits start shriveling right in front of him. They turn dry and gray in seconds. The guy starts freaking out, trying to figure out who's stealing his energy. Out of nowhere, the ground explodes and sends everything flying, and our boy appears with the boar to rescue the people who were trapped. The villain is in shock, unable to understand how a mere rank C escaped his control. The lunatic tries to strike back with that galaxy energy, but the MC looks up at the sky and realizes things go way deeper than that. A colossal hand comes out of a portal and tries to crush the boar. Our guy throws the rope and tells the beast to take the children far away from there. Without looking back, he charges at the villain, who now has some kind of space tentacles, and starts weaving through this whole mess to finish the job. Our boy unleashes a beating with blue energy and pierces the villain's chest. The guy doesn't even blink and says even a Ranka would struggle to wound him. He likes our guy's talent and decides to return the favor. He throws a punch the size of a building, and the MC tries to hold the world in his hands. What a blow! Our boy hits the ground completely battered. Realizing this enemy is basically immortal, the kid is screwed and knows reinforcements will take ages to arrive. Luckily, he still has one trump card saved up and activates an overpowered talisman that starts consuming his body to change everything from the inside out. He becomes practically a demigod with an aura that commands respect. The villain even gets excited by the change and decides that now the game is getting serious, throwing another space punch to test our boy's new form. Our guy is on a whole nother level now and comes flying straight at the villain. The lunatic doesn't even see where the blow came from. That's how fast the MC is, and realizes this new blade ignores any defense. The villain tries to recover, but the pressure is insane. The two collide head-on, and the impact creates a massive shockwave. It's speed in its purest form, and our boy tears right through the guy like he's made of paper, leaving the stunned because his metal defense went down the drain. But the MC knows time is running out and needs to finish the job fast. The guy gets shredded to pieces on the ground, and our boy lands with style. But the freak is basically like living mercury and admits he didn't expect this buff from the MC. Our G realizes this thing is way too broken, so the only option is to disintegrate him completely. The villain pulls out all the stops and starts spawning an army of clones to even the fight. Our boy decides two can play that game and makes a sign, summoning a terrifying golden cavalry to flip the board. It's the attack of 1,000 armies, and it steamrolls the villain's clones without mercy. The freak starts panicking when he sees the MC also has summoning cheats, and there's nowhere left to run. The blow lands squarely on the original, but our GS energy bar hits 0 at that exact moment. He returns to normal, thinking he finally cleared the area. But that blue light on the ground is a warning that the boss still has a second phase. Our boy plummets into the void and ends up straight in a grotesque dump full of corpses. Down there, a crazy long-necked woman is hunting the intruders, complaining that the mission is boring. The villainess is the definition of a red flag, but her figure makes it clear the author put in the work. She's accompanied by a giant centipede covered in bizarre eyes, and out of nowhere, an old man with red eyes appears saying he caught the scent of a woman nearby. The whole monster gang is gathered together when a shadow cuts through the scene and rips the old man's head clean off. The villainesses are completely stunned by the ambush, and the old man's head becomes floor decoration. A master with an overwhelming presence appears, along with her pet Jiangshi, who has the unmistakable look of someone completely unhinged. Cut to the space villain who kidnapped our boy into an astral plane, complaining that the MC ruined his harvest. He decides to do a mental scan on our G, Pressing a hand to his head to read through his entire history, the villain thinks he's just some ordinary orphan with nothing special, but stumbles onto something in the kid's mind that sends him into a panic. The villain realizes the boy's memories don't belong to this world and sees a pure nightmare of gods and towers of corpses. At the center of it all, a golden entity appears with power on a whole different level. The freak gets euphoric over the discovery. He turns his arm into a sinister blade and starts debating whether to erase the MC or keep the kid as a rare specimen. But out of nowhere, space itself starts cracking, and a fierce pink-haired woman appears, ordering the villain to hand over our boy right now. The freak can't believe his barrier got blown away by the power of her voice alone, and the girl makes it clear she's finally found her target. She comes in with a flying kick right away, throwing a punch that must have hurt down to the soul. The freak goes flying across the scene and slams hard into the ground. Losing control of the hostage, our boy falls in freefall, completely unconscious, but the pink-haired girl shows up to save the day. She catches the MC in her arms, and honestly, he's lucky to be carried by a top-tier waifu like this. The kid finally wakes up, but he's already frustrated because he couldn't finish the monster off. The captain is completely shocked when he mentions that the guy is immortal. The space villain is over there reassembling himself like he's made of mercury, and the bizarre tree has sprouted a fruit that looks like a giant brain. The captain doesn't want to hear any talk, and immediately starts beating the hell out of that seed of evil, making the whole thing collapse out of nowhere. Lin Yu and the giant boar show up to reinforce the team, and she says the survivors are already safe. The redhead glitches out at the size of the fruit, and the MC explains that the plant is kidnapping people to produce this anomaly. The captain decides the best solution is to destroy the fruit with her fists. The thing starts pulsing in a bizarre way, leaving everyone completely confused. Up above, a portal opens in the middle of the chaos and starts teleporting the fruits away. They end up in a completely desolate place where the space villain is waiting for the shipment. The guy admits he almost got taken out in that last fight, but his peace doesn't last long because the boss shows up with a heavy aura, demanding the harvest results. He explains that he only secured 7 because our boy and the captain gave him way too much trouble. Boss Ning accepts what's left of the harvest and immediately starts inspecting the goods to see if the energy is high quality. He gives the classic villain speech saying that soon he'll free everyone from that sealed land. Cut to the Scavengers Guild HQ, where things are getting serious. A summit meeting is underway with the toughest hunters in the area. President Mingyu, who looks like a kid but is SS rank, opens the meeting, but Hughes, who is swagger in its purest form, says he's way too busy saving the world. Uncle Long immediately calls him out, saying he should probably be out on a date instead. The guy doesn't even try to hide it and says that's how he recharges his batteries. The horned cat girl is completely clueless, while the captain is over there drooling in the middle of the meeting, and the president decides to leave her alone so they can continue with the agenda. The kid gets straight to the point. The villain Ning is about to break the seal and come at full force. The mood gets heavy for everyone, and the guy in armor already slams his fist on the table, saying he's ready for war. Hughes is still like, who even is this guy? But the masked mercenary shuts him down, warning that the villain could solo the whole room. While laughing, everyone's already starting to think game over is guaranteed, and the kid confirms it. The odds aren't 0, but things are going to get rough. The president keeps monitoring our boy's progress from afar, and believes the kid is the only real chance of victory. The group takes the fruit to the Scavengers underground lab, and our boy immediately shows up wanting to know what the hell this fruit is. Diargwa goes full nerd mode and explains that the thing even has a consciousness of its own. Ling Yi just stands there, mesmerized by the size of the fruit inside the tank. Our boy is more lost than ever, so the doctor lays it out and explains what a nuclear tree is. It's basically a plant that evolved into an elite beast. The thing starts with a seed infecting the land, and then spends hundreds of years draining the life out of an entire forest to grow. All that accumulated energy ends up concentrated in this plant brain. Our boy gets suspicious of Li Yunxing's sudden wisdom, and she goes into a trance, realizing those memories came from her father. Suddenly, the thing starts vibrating, and the doctor realizes the fruit is almost ready to be born. Cut to the snake woman, who's just chilling on top of a mountain of corpses, while this exorcist tries to deal with the situation. And what a blessed plot she has, by the way. She sends an undead in for a soul-slicing attack that tears right through the villain, but the bitch doesn't even feel it and still mocks the attack. The villain doesn't even move, and lets her zombie one-shot that poor guy. The green-haired girl is left in shock watching her ally get sent to the lobby without even seeing what hit him. The exorcist immediately makes it clear that this is no ordinary undead. She explains that there's a whole ranking system, from white zombie all the way to flying zombie. But Xiao Jiang is at the very top of the food chain. The legendary zombie king. The poor girl realizes she entered the wrong server and tries to run away, but ends up getting sliced apart halfway through. It's game over for her, and our exorcist takes the chance to collect the rare loot that dropped. The exorcist notices the zombie king is still growling, and the reason is this giant centipede that decided to show up for dinner. But the real KO is happening somewhere else. Our pink-haired captain is getting completely wrecked 30 in a video game by a child. While the two of them play, the MC gets stuck with the janitor role cleaning up the dump. The captain, who apparently put all her points into plot, says the little one's duty is to play with her. The guy gets so pissed he snaps the broom in half, complaining that the loot from the last mission was garbage. He needs core crystals ASAP if he wants to evolve, and the little girl drops the spoiler that she knows the perfect place to farm those items. Our boy can't believe his luck and heads straight for the so-called Canyon of Chaos. The guy drops down like a rocket, focused on getting past the snakes to reach the labyrinth. He uses some spirit clones to scout the path, and finally finds Crystal Paradise, its infinite loot. He starts stuffing his inventory like crazy, but out of nowhere a giant magic circle lights up in front of him, and a mysterious little witch appears to ruin the guy's farming session. The girl shows up looking like an anime witch, and our boy recognizes the beast. It's Mo Ling, and a rank elite of the scavengers. He doesn't understand what she's doing in the middle of nowhere, but the girl looks like she came to handle the situation. But in the fight against the centipede, things are getting intense, and the zombie king lands an attack that turns it into shredded paper monster chunks flying everywhere. Pure gore. The giant creature is a nightmare of 1,000 hungry hands. The exorcist realizes her ally is at his limit, and bites her finger to focus her energy, then activates the heavenly eye to scan the creature. The thing shines brightly, and she finally figures out where the weak point is. She rings the bell and orders the zombie to attack the center. Xiao Jiang turns into a projectile of pure rage that tears through the centipede and makes blood rain everywhere. She finishes the ritual with an execution command, slicing the monster into 1,000 pieces in the blink of an eye. At last, the beast is done for, and the zombie king can rest. The exorcist is completely exhausted, and her body just shuts down. Luckily, the zombie king is there to catch his mistress before she falls. Meanwhile, gossip is spreading wildly among the flying monsters, who are already planning to call in the so-called ancestor to wipe everyone out. She crosses through a portal straight into the immortal refinement valley, and the two kids show up in a panic when they see the catgirl's aura is at 0. She burned through more lifespan than she even had just to solo that beast, and since the headmaster is in spiritual retreat, it fell to the support to hold down the fort. The kid immediately activates the healing spell and says making her good as new will be easy, and uses that legendary flower to heal the catgirl, and the visual effect is so intense it looks like she's getting a legendary skin upgrade. She floats up completely renewed, and gets up feeling like she drank 10 liters of coffee. And the kid explains that the flower restored all her vitality to the maximum level, but the mood turns heavy because their hideout has been discovered, and the other little one panics because the master still hasn't finished training. The catgirl gives that smile of someone who already knows how to solve the problem by force. Cut to this girl in a school uniform, carrying a magic circle, and from inside it, a marmot with glasses jumps out of the portal, and our red-haired boy has no idea what to make of this magic and hamster crossover. He tries to quietly slip away in spirit form with the loot in hand, but his luck is so bad that a crystal falls and gives away his position. Mo Ling realizes someone is nearby, and our dude can already feel the game overcoming. She prepares a star explosion special that shines brighter than the sun, and unleashes the hit to delete the poor guy from the server. He appears drenched in sweat, shouting that he's on the same side before taking another hit. 10 minutes later, things finally cool down as he explains the misunderstanding. She realizes the figure was just a decoy, and our boy confirms that's his skill. Mo Ling accepts the excuse and tells the guy to get lost with what he already took, but warns him that if he spills anything about the encounter, he'll be deleted in real life. Our boy isn't stupid and gets out of there with the loot. Before she changes her mind, the marmot gets pissed and asks why she let the little thief take the items for free. But the catgirl is on a whole different wavelength and starts casting a ritual with the remaining crystals. The power is so overwhelming that everything starts spinning in a wild vortex, and she gives the order for the upgrade to begin. The visuals look like an anime opening, with how much everything is glowing. She finishes the transformation, ready to solo any boss that shows up on the map. The marmot is stunned to see that the master just leveled up again. She complains that the crystal stock ran dry with that upgrade, and is already planning the next raid straight into the demon realm. The goal now is to clear the map of the pests causing trouble, and she opens the portal to get out of there right away. The redhead can only watch from the sidelines, trying to process all that information, and decides to follow his own path toward the Valley of Immortal Refinement out of nowhere. The scene cuts to our boy opening his eyes and being greeted with a welcome fit for an Ice Guy protagonist. Our MCS harem shows up in full force, celebrating that the master has finally awakened. He's completely bugged out trying to understand what the squad wants with him. The little bracelet girl pops up out of nowhere to say she's in the lobby too, and the exorcist steps forward, warning that their hideout is done for. She explains that a clash with the so-called ancestor Wudong is inevitable, and shows the rare items they dropped to help with the upgrade. The plan now is to put our boy through intense training so he can level up in record time. Lingya starts crafting to turn the loot into an essence pill, and after finishing, she hands over the legendary item that triples farming speed. The MC does the math and realizes that with all the stacked buffs, the XP gain is going to be insane. She then takes the item and shoves it down the MC's throat, and warns that time is running out so the boy has to tank it. The cultivation begins, and the atmosphere in his spiritual space starts boiling, while the artist takes the chance to raise the level of the plot with the waifus floating around. The heat is insane, and the girls can feel that he's about to explode until the MC breaks through the limit. Upgrade completed successfully out of nowhere. A colossal sword appears together with his golden core. The MC realizes that now he's on a whole different level of power, but then a golden entity appears, saying his disciples finally proved useful for something. The MC recognizes the guy as the former master of the Heaven and Earth sect, and gets all excited, thinking the guy is still active on the server, but the spirit tells him the truth. He died long ago, and all that remains is a soul fragment stored in the bracelet. He looks at our boy with that smile of someone about to pass the bill on to the next guy, and says the kid's progress has surpassed all expectations. The master decides it's time to teach our MC some broken techniques, and starts transferring the forbidden files straight into his mind. The light is so strong it looks like the monitor is about to burn out. Our boy opens his eyes in the real world with that heterochromia look every anime protagonist loves, and feels his body overflowing with energy after finally forming the nascent soul. The waifu squad celebrates that their energy has also been restored to the max, but Ling Yi warns that Ancestor Wudong is still an impossible level boss. Our boy just gives that smile of someone hiding his true strength. Cut to the Bone Dungeon in the other world, where Mo Ling appears with the mystical marmot. Ready for battle, the mascot warns that the Skeleton Legion is about to respawn. She says it's still not the right time, and then a flashback kicks in, showing that the little girl had already awakened her magic at age 5. She threw herself alone into this bizarre world, and spent a decade soloing monsters just trying to find her mother. Her mother was also a badass mage who vanished into a portal, and our girl swore she wouldn't die until she found her again. But the danger doubles with every floor and the respawn begins. There are so many skeletons around that the siege becomes impossible to tank. Mo Ling just gives that little smile like she's already set the trap, and dodges a heavy blow that almost sends the marmot to the lobby. She floats above the chaos, looking for the king of this mess, and decides to end the clown show with a chain lightning that turns into a collective bone barbecue. She notices that the boss only spawns after all the mobs are cleared, but still no boss. Out of nowhere the bones start glowing green again, and the Legion comes back to the server with an insane speed buff. The problem is that now they have lightning resistance, and the fight gets rough, so now it's time to test the broken skill she unlocked in her last level up. The girl summons the power of the goddess of ice, and makes it clear that this pile of bones isn't getting anywhere near her. She unleashes the special age of winter to freeze the whole map, and turns the army into popsicles. The bone popsicles fall from the sky, and turn into rubble on the ground. The marmot immediately takes the chance to scoop up all the loot that's dropping double. Mo Xiaobei gets intrigued by these crystals, and starts getting suspicious of the MC. She feels like the guy is hiding some secret about how he farms so much. But the celebration doesn't last long, because the negative energy starts rising again. The bones didn't stay in the lobby. They're gathering to form something much worse. The floor boss finally shows up, and the size of this thing is ridiculous. Let me introduce you to the Skeleton Lord, the nightmare of any low-level player. The monster comes in swinging a heavy hit, trying to delete our girl, but she conjures a golden barrier, and tanks the blow with ease. But then her defense starts to crack, and the impact sends the poor girl flying like she weighs nothing. She manages to recover midair, and immediately focuses on her next move. So she doesn't get one shot. The girl spams her entire skill arsenal at the monster with absolutely no success. The problem is that the boss is immune to magic damage, but she's not even phased. She decides to use the souls of the bosses she soloed in the past, and summons the whole squad to turn the fight around. Moling calls in the whole crew to finish the boss off, and the summoned squad comes in. Fueled by pure rage, the armored ogre lands a crushing blow right into the skeleton's chest, while the Flower Queen immobilizes the thing with vines. It's a true infinite combo, but the summons have a time limit, and our girl needs a finishing blow, so she looks at the marmot with other intentions. She activates a new pet enhancement skill, releasing a colossal fire aura that wraps around the little rodent, and the creature becomes the map's new nightmare. The little rodent turns into the giant shadow spirit bear, and Moling gives the order for it to shine and wreck everything, while the other summons hold the skeleton down, leaving the boss completely vulnerable and defenseless. The thing just stands there waiting for the worst. Our pet launches a savage charge straight at the target and blows the monster's body apart into 1,000 pieces. The guy turns into a pile of rubble on the ground, and the bear lets out a victory roar, but out of nowhere, a skull wreathed in green flames appears floating there, and Moling realizes the bastard still isn't dead. Moling immediately warns that as long as the head stays intact, the thing will keep coming back to the lobby forever. Out of nowhere, the skull starts glowing and fires off bolts that send the bear flying to the sidelines. The problem is that the boss is absorbing the other summons to rebuild its body using the power of her own squad. The biggest scam in history. Now the guy is gigantic and buffed with everyone's power. Xiaotu gets furious at this cheat, but she tells him to use a potion and hold the monster off for 1 minute. Xiaotu realizes his master is about to use that broken technique and tells her she can relax because he's got this. He chugs the buff potion in one gulp, and the beast's physique explodes. The bear charges at the fused boss and starts throwing punches like there's no tomorrow, while the pet tanks the impossible. Moshi begins the ritual for an ancient spell. She focuses all her energy into the crystal and summons the Valkyrie, an entity that will delete the boss before her body collapses. She only has 10 seconds for the killing blow, and dives in for the final attack while the bear tanks. Our bear is holding the boss back, but its eyes go wide because its energy runs out. Everything resets, and the mascot turns back into a marmot. Our girl is left exposed in midair, but doubles down and throws the slash anyway. The skeleton tries not to get deleted, and the clash of powers makes everything shake. But the skull escaped by a hair. Our girl is in total shock because the boss managed to pull off the final dodge, but out of nowhere, a blue blur cuts across the scene and finishes grinding up the remains of the skeletons that were trying to piece themselves back together. Moling glitches out trying to understand how that clone ended up there, and our dude still shows up asking if she's okay. But he gets slapped while our mage calls him every name under the sun in the middle of that sea of loot. Far from there, the real MC realizes things have seriously gone south now. His plan was just to leave a clone behind to investigate the crystal drop, but the clone needed physical contact to get through Moling's barrier. Redhead is dying of embarrassment because his clone helped Mo Xiaobei touching where he shouldn't have, and now he thinks he's going to get branded as a total creep. Meanwhile, the samsara tree is growing at a ridiculous pace, and our boy just stands there staring at how huge the thing is getting. Li Yuli comes over to give her report. She explains that the tree is still just a tiny sprout, and that the other apprentices used up almost all the spirit stones to refine the pills. The energy supply is at its limit. The problem is that the next boss at the Gate of Ascension is still way too strong. But Li Yuli promises she'll do everything she can to protect her master. Then the redhead barges in, acting crazy, and interrupts the conversation. While Li Yuli asks what brilliant idea that lunatic came up with this time, she asks if master has any more of those immortal pills he gave her before. Our boy has no idea what she's talking about until he realizes the lunatic swallowed a grenade, thinking it was a supplement. She even makes a little heart with her hands, saying the energy kick was intense. The MC completely breaks down when he realizes she snacked on nuclear ammo. But then it hits him: nuclear energy is the equivalent of mana in this world. And he remembers that back in the desert where he lived, this trash was everywhere. The tree is surrounded by grenades, and our boy can't believe this junk heap is actually going to be useful. The redhead is already fired up, concentrating the pure essence of fire in her hands, and sends everything sky high. The impact is insane, and the nuclear energy starts powering up the plant. Far away, and Ing sits on his throne listening to the whining of those bizarre servants. The creatures are trembling all over as they try to explain that the MC had help, but the Master of Shadows doesn't want to hear loser excuses. He raises his skeletal hand and gets ready to delete those useless NPCs. The poor things get one shot before they can even finish their sentence. And Ing is sick of incompetence and calls his servants trash. While shaping a new form out of that purple slime, a sinister avatar appears, ready for battle, and the villain announces that now hell enter the raid himself. Changing scenes, we see some bizarre incubation tanks where Dr. Shu is being kept alive on life support out of nowhere. The guy opens his eyes and realizes his respawn worked. A silhouette appears, saying it's been waiting a long time for the doctor to wake up, but things go bad at the tree when a dark mist swallows everything and leaves our boy in shock. Our boy is completely stunned by what he found. In front of him appeared a bizarre replica of that nuclear tree, and those brain-shaped fruits start to vibrate. One of them explodes and the girls can't even react when a blur goes flying past at an absurd speed, but the MC was already locked in, and sends out an energy lasso to catch the runaway, revealing this wooden creature with a nasty look on its face, which our boy grabs to see if this drop is really worth it. Liu examines the drop and says this can't even be called a treasure. To her it's a tree spirit, but it has a very wrong vibe. Legend says these fruits take centuries to ripen, and normally they produce a rare pill or the offspring of a legendary beast. But once every 100 years, one of these spirits is born, and they're usually geniuses, take human form and can grow without limit. But the one our boy reeled in doesn't seem like the sharpest creature in the world. The redhead thinks the excess nuclear energy made the poor thing come out glitched. So she calls little Baiko over to try making contact, and the kid immediately shows up, activating his skill to talk to the plant. The kid is stunned by what he sees. That ugly creature was just a disguise to scare off the curious, and now she reveals her true form, which is a little fairy of light. Baiko explains that this is an extremely rare species that changes appearance as it grows. Meanwhile, in the scavenger's lab, glass goes flying everywhere from a punch. The guards come rushing and calling for backup because the mutant brain is gone. They look everywhere and can't find anything. Out of nowhere, a branch pierces a soldier's chest, and a foolin' slaughter begins. With roots bursting from the ground and skewering everyone, the lab turns into a slaughterhouse in seconds. The missing brain actually gave birth to this horrifying thing, and Dr. Gua tells Redhead that the nuclear tree's fruit has finally hatched. The lunatic is completely stunned, and when he looks up, he comes face to face with the lab's new nightmare. We go back to the shaman from hell looking for the MC. Someone tries their luck and throws a heavy blade at him, but the monster doesn't even move as the metal grazes past him. He even mocks them by asking if that was their main plan, but ends up getting sliced in half before he can even finish laughing. The creature starts regenerating immediately, and the bastard even splits into two just to make the raid more complicated. Our boy is stunned to see that the slash did absolutely nothing, but Li Yuli explains that thing is just a puppet clone, not the real boss. She draws her sword and says she's gonna slice that thing up until there's nothing left. The exorcist calls Xiao Zhang in for the attack, and the little zombie charges in at full speed, piercing straight through the clone. But the monster gets tired of being a punching bag and orders them to focus on the girl, unleashing a rain of spikes in every direction that turns the poor thing into a human pincushion. The clone takes advantage of the opening and strikes Xiao Zhang without mercy. Total boss posture. Our little zombie ends up sprawled out on the ground. Our boy sees that ancestral wudong is one tough nut to crack and decides to resort to the technique the sect master taught him. He sends a rain of golden swords crashing down on the clones. The creatures melt into the purple puddle, but then the stuff starts bubbling. The villain says those attacks only serve to buff him and creates an endless army. The guy calls the boy a thief and declares victory, but the MC asks if he really thinks he's gotten stronger. The boy flashes that smile of someone who already predicted the enemy's move and reveals that they were just illusions to lure the villain into a trap. Wutong is completely bugging out. The guy can feel his mana being drained. They're trapped inside the MCS refining cauldron, and he explains that if the main body won't die, then the only option is to cook the bastard down until he turns into pure essence fire. Crow steps in to turn up the heat and immediately prepares the forbidden seal, summoning sacred fire to fry the villain. The villain is still laughing, swearing that ordinary fire can't do a thing to him. But then he realizes it's real sacred fire, and panic hits him hard. Far away from there, Dr. Shu tries to figure out who the lunatic with a galaxy-like face standing before him is. The space villain says the doctor is far too talented to die and that he saved his life because he needs a favor. The doctor sees himself as a patched-up wreck, but the stranger points to the tank beside him and shows him the woman he loved. Diarshu is completely shocked because he remembered that she had died a long time ago. The villain gets straight to the point. If he helps, he'll bring the woman back and restore his body. The doctor takes the bait immediately and asks what the plan is. The man's plan is simple. He wants the doctor to figure out a way to copy human abilities. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a hand passes through the wall in a bizarre way. It's Mo Ling using the shadow passing technique to sneak into the room uninvited. She says she finally found this so-called Li Yunxing who's over there snoring away, completely unaware of the danger.